All right, going to do a sound check. Sound check, let me know if you hear me. Looks like we've got 3 visitors here already. I'm going to make some adjustments. All right, thank you for joining me. Tonight, we're going to be talking about some of the evictions. And so rather than talk about, the big problem of it and the despair of it, we're going to talk about some solutions. I know somebody last time mentioned, hey, man, why don't you talk about what can be done versus the hysteria behind these evictions? So now I know that the Supreme Court did reject this as of yesterday, and Biden has attempted to do what he can, and so that has not worked out either. So they tossed that to Congress, and unfortunately, I think the Democrats did not get enough votes this afternoon to assist with evictions. So what we face now is all these evictions in the country will obviously, be able to start as of midnight tonight. Well, luckily that's not going to be able to be done obviously till Monday at 9 a.m. And so for those of you that are very concerned about this, one thing to keep in mind is, first of all, there's no way to process all this stuff. I mean, even if there was 1 million people every city that's receiving an eviction, there's not enough judges, lawyers, and so on to process all these evictions at one time. This could go on for quite a long time. It could go all the way into 2022. So if you're fortunate enough to have a landlord that's likely have been filing, that's going to do it for you Monday, it would take quite a while, especially if you're in a big metropolitan area. So let's talk about some solutions today. And first thing I want to tell you about, guys, if you're behind on rent, then we need to talk about ERAP, so Emergency Rental Assistance Program. And this is going to be issued by the United States Treasury. It should be available in most states, and I want to give you some information about that real quick. So, looks like we got a small crowd today. Very small crowd. All right, so I just put a link in. Well, I'm working on it. So that's going to be the ERAP for those of you that are interested in learning more about emergency rental assistance to help you with the eviction process. For those of you that want to know what states are going to be affected, I'm going to put another link for you. Now, this link will indicate 40 states that have no protections, and then 10 that they do have protections for. So I would encourage you to take a look at this link. Now, for those of you that are unaware, this is a live chat, so you can chat with me in the right window if you're a laptop, a tablet, a desktop. If you're on a phone, I'm unsure. I've yet to see how you can do that on a phone, so maybe one of y'all let me know. So, I've been consuming, so I'm going to read a comment real quick. Thank God somebody comment. Gently Moving says, hi, I've been consuming tons of videos. Great information. I appreciate that. I put a lot of work into this, guys. 6 years, almost 7 years on YouTube, I've been doing this. Outside of YouTube, those 6 years would turn into more like 21 years almost doing this, consulting with people. I own Section8Consulting.com. I work with a lot of people. I know since January of this year, I've worked 6 days a week. Every week out there working with clients. I get up at 4 or 5 in the morning, and I'm working with consults around noon, and then I'm working on casework all the way to 10 o'clock at night. So it's been hellish for me to try to get anything done personally, but I know I'm always working on people's cases, whether we're trying to seek rental assistance and getting landlords to cooperate with that, and those of you that do face eviction, trying to stave off the attempts by landlords to put you out. And those of you that are seeking housing right now, it's a difficult time. I've mentioned in many of my videos, we should always consider all options. Too many of you are giving up too early. Yes, so what? Days everybody's going to get evicted, whatever. But like I said, that takes time. It has to go through a court that cannot process 240,000 eviction. In most cities, the numbers are climbing to 200,000 to 300,000. Even in small cities, the numbers are astronomical. I know last check in January, it was 9.7 million evictions are going to be processed. Now the numbers are almost triple that. So again, I don't want to scare anybody, but we need to talk about solutions. If you're just going to give up, that's not a good idea. One thing else I want to tell you guys is storage. Be well aware that there is now several months wait for storage. So if you're stuck in a position where you need storage to put your stuff, you should address that quickly, because It's put a very heavy caseload on all the housing, storage facilities around the country. And if you happen to live in a big city, you may find that there is nowhere to put anything in storage. So Gently Moving, I'm going to read a comment. Gently Moving asks, what is the financial look back period on the bank accounts for HUD and vouchers? Typically, they're going to review about 4 months of your history. And they're also going to want to get a snapshot of your income tax return to kind of see a picture, or overall picture. Now, you do have to compensate for the concept that it is a pandemic. They don't expect your incomes to be perfect when it comes to this. So, but yes, 4 months. Another comment says, well, it looks like Mary spoke to me in Spanish, and unfortunately, I have to apologize, Mary. I do not speak Spanish yet. I'm working on that. 20 years in Houston, you would think I could speak every Latino language, but I cannot yet. I just know the words, some words, and so I'm working on that. Sonia Grinstaff commented, hi, Jay. Your videos are extremely informative and educational. Thank you for all your time. I appreciate that. I appreciate all of you that have been members of this channel that have followed along through the good and the bad. Some of my videos are tough to watch because I tend to complain about housing authorities. But now, for those of you that have already joined me, I want to go ahead and give you some links because a lot of you are showing up just now. So I think it's important that you have these links. If you need rental assistance, it's called ERAP. I would encourage you to take a look at this link. I'm going to put it in once more. That should help you with 12 months back rent. It should also help you under the Biden administration for 18 months of rent going forward. If you have not applied for ERAP, you should do so now. Forever, God rest your soul. The second thing is I want to talk about the eviction bans. Only 10 states have them in place right now, and so I'm going to put a link up if you want to identify your state and whether or not it's has an additional block. You might want to check out that list there, okay? It is issued by www.nola.com. They are a reliable, non-political source for that information. And again, I just want to say, guys, just because there's evictions coming up doesn't mean that you're going to be immediately put out your home. And number two, the thing is you need to start looking into housing. Look, we have Section 8, we have emergency housing vouchers, we have subsidized housing, and we have continuum of care, coordinated entry, better known as CSC housing, for emergency situations for those of you that might be becoming imminently homeless. So giving up should never be an option. You have to keep fighting the good fight with this. That's important. So hopefully y'all take a look at that. Next up, I want to put up a few other things. As I had mentioned in the very first part of this video, when there were very few people watching, I own Section8Consulting.com. I've done so and worked about 7 years now on YouTube making videos, made over 200. And in addition to that, I have about 20 years in the field of doing this. So I assist people with getting housing, especially in tough situations. If you believe you could benefit from my services, you're welcome to do so. You may find 2 links. You can check me out through my booking software as well as my website. I'm not here to sell anything, so if it's something you believe that reasonably would help you, please do so. It's a lot. It's tedious. Trying to deal with housing and some of the many struggles that we all face financially through this pandemic. Sometimes you need help, and if you need help, it's better to work with a consultant than read a book. There are a lot of people making books, and some of those books don't even make sense. I've read some of them, and they're pretty funny. So another comment I'm going to read real quick. Gently Moving. What are the differences in applying for regular HUD vouchers in Section 811? Well, a housing choice voucher is a housing choice voucher, if you can imagine that. So let's just pretend real quick that I've got a voucher here, and this is the voucher. There's a bunch of invisible strings attached to this voucher. And depending on the string that's attached to this voucher will depend on the type of funding you get. For instance, if you're a student with a disability, there would be an invisible string attached to the voucher that would turn it into a 504, Section 504. If you were a senior, then it would be a string attached to it through the Housing Authority, and a very invisible one, and it would be Section 202. If you are a person that is non-elderly or a NED, it would be Section 811. You see my point? So we could go into around 138 different types. We have HOPWA, HOPWA. That's going to be people with suffering from AIDS or HIV. Then we could do another string for VAWA, which would be people suffering domestic violence. Then we could do another string to the federal government, which would be HUD-VASH, VASH. And to be frank with you, I could go on for a good 15 minutes about all of these. All of them have their own sets of rules and specific reasons behind in which you would get them. Some are easier than others. Some pay more than others. And then that's not also going to include continuum of care, which offers another voucher. We'll pretend that's this voucher here. And so this voucher would have invisible strings. It would come down to PSH, permanent supportive housing, and then you would have rapid rehousing on that. And so rapid rehousing would be where they would help fund your new start, then a new complex with a new voucher for up to 2 years. And if it's PSH, it would be permanent supportive housing. And the equivalent of that is Section 811. So two different programs. They operate the same way, but they're named differently. One addresses those that are simply extremely low income, and the other one addresses people that are homeless already or are going to be imminently homeless, which means you're going to be soon to not have a place to live, a home. So I would suggest for those of you that are in dire to get to start looking at the option of continuum of care, coordinated entry, and housing first. 3 different names all mean the same thing. Unfortunately, because of the way the news and other programs are named, they tend to give them multiple names. So I just wanted to give you them all. So I'm going to read a few more comments real quick because I know people have questions at this point. That's why I'm here. I'm not here to talk shit about housing authorities tonight. Okay, most of y'all are used to that. The very livid and lively profanity I use in my live videos. Today, I want to talk about solutions because tonight at midnight, evictions will begin to happen. And of course, they're going to start filing those Mondays. So it's more important that we talk about what we can do rather than turn this into a celebrity cursing session. So, all right. So, Miss Harmon says, if you did the interview packet for the public housing, can they require you to do it over a month later due to rescheduling if you turned all documents in with it? So let's see if I'm interpreting that message correctly. If you did the interview packet for the public housing, yes, housing authorities are sanctioned essentially as county workers, and if there's an error, it does err to their side, which means they can request what they want, and they also housing authorities also, as long as it's within the limitation of Title 24 and regulation, they can request additional information. A lot of you are under the belief that you don't need to provide a lot of personal details and other things. You're wrong. You do. If the housing authority requests something, especially when you're under a HAP contract, HAP, they most certainly can. And if you deny the request or you give them a bunch of problems about it, they can eliminate or purge you from the list. So I would caution you, as long as they're not asking you to do something extreme, just try to meet the requirement, especially when it involves just receiving a voucher. And so Gail Resources says, and I want to let you guys know, Gail actually is an excellent person when it comes to this stuff. She's also been a member of my channel for quite some time. And so, y'all can always reach out to her too. She's pretty good at what she does. I believe that she has a history in counseling or possibly social work. So moving on, T. Davis. I applied for additional funding with Texas Rental Relief. Now, I'm very familiar with that because I live in Texas and I understand what that is. And it says, I was eligible to reapply 6/28/2021. I did, and I don't want to go back to eviction court. If I pay rent, am I still eligible for assistance? You need to make sure it's at least you got to make sure it's at least late by 1 day. Now, I know with any complex, whether corporate or not, they give you a little latitude for 1 to 5 days in order to be late. Look, just be late a day, then it's applicable. You have to be late at the point of proof. So when they say reapplication, you must prove if it is the first day of the new month and you haven't paid, you have a picture of, hey, I can't pay the rent, then you want to do so, okay? But not do so in such a way that would put you at jeopardy. So in other words, it is a bit of a gamble. Look, guys, whenever you're doing Texas Rental Relief, or any relief agency around the country that's accepting ERAP funding, please start 1 week prior to when due rent is due. All right, it means that you can't afford it now because the stuff takes time. Look, as we all know, with all this ERAP funding, only 6.2% of all that money ever went out, and they've had a half a year. That should tell you a lot about how badly our government operates. We're not even talking about the housing authority. Now we're talking about the government and the Treasury. But the problem is it's not really the Treasury. We've taken all the money from the feds. We've turned it over to the state and the politicians, okay? The people that live in the big houses that are riding around in Mercedes and Jaguars They're bickering amongst their $4,000 chandeliers and their $900 wingtip shoes. So when you wonder why you haven't got one stitch of funding, talk to your local congressman that's air conditioned and making a $200,000 a year. That's a jeopardy of nothing. His shed is bigger than your home. These are the people you all need to go after. I don't care if they're Democrat or Republican. These people are the people that are actually tying all this stuff up. This is why none of the funding is getting out. And I'm trying so hard right now to not use any profanities in this video, but I feel like if I say any more about these politicians, then I'm going to go on a rant in this video. So, with that being said, yes, with Mr. Davis, yes, you must start a little bit early with that. So, moving on from that, let's talk about, I'm going to pull it up real quick and we're going to go over some states real quick. That way, for those of you that are just joining, we're going to talk about which states are going to protect you. So I'm just going to go over the ones that I know for a fact have an extension. So California, you've got till 9/30/2021. District of Columbia, there are some moratoriums in place per the mayor. The mayor of certain towns in the, the mayor has signed an act phasing out eviction. So it'll be a slow rolling process. Hopefully your name doesn't start, your last name doesn't start with an A, because if they do it alphabetically, it's just like when you were in grade school. If you were unlucky like me and your last name started with an R or a Z, you were the last one to get a cookie. So look, let's hope this is not going to be alphabetical for phasing out evictions. Moving on, Hawaii 8/6/2021, that's when theirs ends. Looks like the great state of Illinois is 8/1/2021. That's how long you're protected additionally. Maryland, good news for you guys. I know I've got so many folks from Maryland. It's crazy. This past week has been a Maryland week. 8/15/2021, that's how long you're protected. Minnesota, you do have some minor protections there, and they may be issued city by city. You'll need to check with your politicians about that. So I would Google that. New Jersey. So let's see. You got 2 months, 2 additional months, but there's not clarity. So the governor's order prohibits removal of tenants from resident properties and postpones enforcement of all judgment for possessions, warrants, removals, and writs of possession. And so you'll need to see the New Jersey Eviction Memorandum Information Question Form to help you out if you're in Jersey. So what I'm seeing is some of the biggest cities are trying to defend against this. Moving on, looks like New Mexico, you have protections. New Mexico website, so there looks like they're going to, well, for them, you want to call 1-833-551-0518, and they should be able to help you on what that is. They haven't explained fully how you're protected. So, New York, you have protections 8/31/2021. So it looks like you have an additional 30 days. New York's going to be hardest hit. I think between 500,000 to 3.3 million people will likely be evicted there. Now we're going to move on and see another state. Oregon, well, no, Oregon's expired. And Virginia. So Virginia's been granted an additional 60 days, but that is contingent on specific things. You will need to, that's going to be, they actually put it through as HB 5005 moratorium. So if you're in Virginia, you're going to need to go ahead and start Googling that to help you out. Washington State, you've been granted a stay of execution for your evictions, 9/30/2021. And that's it. If you weren't on that list, then you have to face those realities start as of tonight at midnight and all the way through Monday. And again, I just got to remind you guys, this stuff's not going to happen instantly. So don't freak out just yet. So with those things said, one of the things you can do, there are many consultants out there. There are 403s, there's Section 8 consulting, obviously what I do. You have caseworkers, counselors, and so on. You'll have to, guys, if you haven't secured housing, you're going to want to do this. This is a big wave. It's a gigantic wave. In fact, the numbers are astronomical. There, when we reach 50,000 vouchers needed or required, 50,000 people looking, that's where we reach a point where there's no longer enough vouchers in the country. We're reaching a number now that is grossing between 10 to 40 million. Look, there's not enough stadiums in the planet to put all these people, okay? So, and then you add in the fact that we're losing unemployment, which is pretty much lost in most states, or is failing in the next 30 to 60 days. So, without the place to live, without any money as well being there. And then, of course, you have the additional issues. Shelters, homeless shelters at half capacity, are no longer accepting people. And as of present, around 92% of all housing authorities have now pretty much locked their doors and turned off their phones because of this specific reason. They have no way, they don't have the staff or an ability, a way to handle this situation. So they're actually closing before y'all guys are going to start calling. The homeless shelters that we knew was always going to be a problem, but there's no way they can accommodate that. Just to give you an example, the average city right now will have between 40 to 240,000 evictions. Look, there's no court system set up for that. This could go on for years. It's pretty extreme. So I'm going to let the news do most of that reporting, but I think we'll start to see what it's going to be starting Monday. And what's interesting is national news hasn't picked it up, which I'm shocked. So it's out there. There are news agencies talking about it, but very lightly. They're waiting for the most shock value. So they're going to wait essentially till Monday morning, and they're going to put it on their 6 o'clock news, and then they're going to run it just like they did for the election and all that. They're going to milk it for everything it's worth. So I'm just trying to talk to y'all before that happens. But you can expect that to be front page news basically Monday. If not, they'll start probably this weekend, the scare tactics and the fear mongering. So it is, it is kind of what it is. Look, guys, if you don't have anybody helping you and you need help, I would suggest reaching out to whomever you can. If you need a consultant, I'm here. Let me put a link to that for those of you that are interested in an appointment. I should warn you, I'm booked pretty heavily, but I'll take as many as I can possibly fit for now. I got to tell you, I'm also pretty tired. You'll see the rings in the eyes. I got to tell you, these are hellish hours for me. So, all right, so put a link up here. This is where you can book consults if you're interested in working with somebody to help you kind of expedite that. Please understand, guys, I don't sell vouchers. I don't have a magic bullet. What I do is a lot better than what you can do. My success rate's around 93%. I've got a 7% failure rate, and sometimes I can't help people because they may suffer from severe mental illness. In other cases, they may suffer from low IQ and other things that would make it hard, very difficult. I've had several clients that were extraordinarily difficult to deal with, but for most people, things go okay with the consults. We work together. We look at all the options. And after 20 years of doing this, I have everything in front of me. So I know how we should approach it at a much quicker and a faster pace than you normally would. When dealing with housing authority application, I'd encourage you to look at the lessons. I've been doing lessons on YouTube recently, telling you step by step what you should be doing. Save some of your time and your energy to take a look at those videos to help yourself out. Anybody making videos about the 3 steps to a voucher, that's absolutely a farce. It's a lie, okay? There's no such thing. There's no secret to this stuff. You got people writing books. It's Section 8 secrets and all this bullshit. Look, it's not a secret. It's a secret if you haven't read. And so, the thing is, if you don't know, then you need to start learning. That's a thing to help yourself. Look into these things. And I wish I would go over that in this video, but, we don't want a long live video. So, guys, I've enjoyed talking with you. I'm going to check the time real quick because I don't want to turn this into a 1-hour video. I realize a lot of you are just here to get some information, possibly a little bit of comfort in the situation. So I'm just going to check it out real quick. Looks like we've been up 24 minutes. So I'm going to wrap this up in about 6 minutes. And anybody else has a question about Section 8, low-income housing, evictions, emergency rental assistance, continuum of care, subsidized housing, public housing, and all the other names, now is the time to ask. There is a live chat window. You're welcome to do so and, speak with me that way. If not, then we'll enjoy each other's company for the next 6 minutes. And then I will be addressing y'all again Sunday. We'll do another lesson. This time it's going to be more on the emergency side for you guys. So it looks like we do have a comment. Nina Valdez says, my family and I were evicted because the landlord refused to fix things in the house. Plus, she tried to sue us. Now we are homeless. Plus, we're trying to find a place. They're a scam. Okay. Trying to find a place and they're a scam. I'm not quite sure the context of that, but it sounds like you're having difficulty. So let me just help you with that then. If you're trying to find a place, the best place to start looking for housing, and I'm going to give you a link to this, all right? Bear with me a moment. All right, so I'm going to have you look here, Nina. And look in the live chat, and there it is. That should help you with your housing search, okay? Look, Nina, if you you can also, now look, I don't recommend 211. I've always spoke against that. That's free. There's 200 videos for free, guys. You have to watch these videos. You know, if you looked at every video that I have, then you probably would have gotten yourself pretty far by now, you know, but I have been warning a lot of you since January. Oh, you're saying, oh, Nina says that the scam is the landlord. Yes. Well, it sounds like, you know, you weren't apprised of all your rights, and I'm sorry to hear about you and your family. Right now, I've got about 107 to 108 families that have been put out of their home, and I'm currently working all their cases. I've got others that are living in rehab shelters, under bridges, in the woods, in cars. It's crazy. I'm working with people from nearly every state in the U.S. The only exception is I'm not dealing with anybody in Puerto Rico just yet. And the people in Puerto Rico got it pretty bad, so I don't think homelessness over there would mean that much. But no offense to you if you're from Puerto Rico. I'm just saying, I think life's already tough there. So yes. Any more questions, guys? I see there's 18 people that have joined us. If you need rental assistance, I'm going to put up some more links again for you guys to help you out. Give me a minute. All right, so if you need emergency rental assistance, I encourage you to take a look at this link. I'm going to put it again for the third time. To the United States Treasury, okay? This is going to help you out. See if I can get myself situated here with this link. Okay, so it's called ERAP. How do you find emergency rental assistance program by the feds? You put in ERAP plus your city name into Google, and you start looking for emergency rental assistance that way. Next up, if you want to know whether or not your city has an additional federal protections or city protections against eviction, you would want to visit this website, NOLA. It tells you 40 states with no protection, and there are 10 states with temporary stays. The longest it's going to last is an additional 60 days. And I'm going to repeat one more thing for our new viewers. As of yesterday, Supreme Court said that CDC can no longer extend it. It's without their right to do that anymore. President Biden does not have the legal authority to extend the eviction ban either. The only people left are Congress. And in about an hour and a half, if Congress does not come to an agreement, which I hate to tell you guys, they were actually several votes short from the Democratic side. So there weren't enough Republicans and Democrats that would agree to extend this. So your politicians essentially failed you. So there will not be a stay of the eviction, unfortunately. But what you should be looking for is a city government. So all of you that have an opportunity, please go to your county websites. And there, right now, if you have a Senate in your state, obviously, you know, if that's in place, then they could be voting on a bill right now at the midnight hour to give you protections against this. There are many states working around the clock today to do things to block evictions in every city in America, most of them anyways. So you should still not give up hope, because there's a chance that both parties, both Republican and Democrats and Republicans, could pass something in your state tonight, but late. They still could do an extended session through the weekend and block this. Okay, so it's not the end of the world just yet. It's major. It's big. But you know, you got to hang on to hope, folks. That's the main thing. That being said, guys, okay, so I'm gonna take a look at the comments, see if there's anybody else has anything else they'd like to ask before I go. T. Davis says, I have rent for the last month and this month, but then I will be broke. I heard you say that being late at least one day in this month, if you could pay rent until then September. Yes. Well, you know, part of the ERAP program, it's not a complete welfare program. So emergency rental assistance program, and it also goes by the name RAP, R-A-P, but it gets tricky with that. But so you do have some rent responsibility. In other words, if you're making you got to make at least make a 25% payment towards your rent to get included in some of these programs. But Yeah, you need to be late first. They don't want to pay rent if they think you can pay it. So that's the thing. So I'm not advising anybody to break their lease or be late, but you have to technically be late. And if you already are receiving ERAP funds, then you should be reapplying every 90 days. You should start a week early. Please don't wait till the last day of the month to do this stuff. ERAP has a phone number in most cities you can call and talk to the workers. They can instruct you in the best thing to do. I tried to assist you guys with applications that are January through March. That was a freaking nightmare. We were successful. I think I helped recover around $3 million for people by assisting them, not doing their application, just assisting them to dodge the potholes, some of the things that get you in trouble. And so I won't be doing that again. It was too much work. Okay, I'd rather just deal with people that need housing. So you should look at your ERAP. If you're receiving county help for mental health or physical health, you should get a hold of your psychiatrist. You should get a hold of your caseworker, your counselor, anybody, okay? Or even people like me that are Section 8 consultants. That way, if you need this quickly, then that usually is the best thing. Hire somebody that's an expert in the field, okay? Again, I'm not here to sell anybody anything. I'm only making suggestions if your situation is dire. Also, I want to reiterate that storage facilities around the country right now, a lot of states and cities are on a 90-day wait. There's so many people being put out all at once that first, they're already price gouging storage units. And number two, there's an extraordinary wait just to get one. I'm not in a heavily affected city, and they've already booked every unit. So if you're thinking on eviction day, you could just run down and get you a storage unit, you're wrong, okay? Same thing with homeless shelters. If you're thinking about staying there, most of them are closed, and about 92% of housing authorities around America have already closed their doors. They're not answering the phones. They simply cannot handle the call volume. To give an example, the city of New York is doing between 500,000 to 3.3 million evictions. And so one or two organizations would not have the capability to handle that level of calls. That's too much, okay? So when I say 3.3, I mean the whole entire state of New York. The fallout in Los Angeles is really, really astronomical, 1.1 million. And also do understand, I'm not including the people that are on mortgages that own homes. Those numbers reach in the millions. And so we won't know the true fallout of how many homes will actually be repossessed between now and Christmas, but the number's pretty astronomical. So, and one of the other things that you can is mortgage assistance. Rental assistance is not just rent. It does help with mortgages. So if we can get the feds and states and politicians to cooperate and give out more than 6.2% of all the funding they've given, then we might have a fighting chance to help some of you. AJ says, how do you go about scheduling? Can it be used anytime? Consult on your booking page. No, it cannot. I've got over 100 people in a waiting queue that I'm helping daily. So I'm working 4 a.m. to 10 o'clock at night. Now you can book whatever appointments you see available. So I'll show you a link. And what I encourage you guys to do, look, some of your wait, it's only a 2-week wait. That's not as bad as you think. You could have nobody doing consulting, So look, sometimes people move appointments, they reschedule, and I leave those appointments open. In fact, on the 10th of this next month, I've got an opening there that I need to fill, and I'm going to post that, and then whoever grabs it. For those of you who already have appointments with me, you can use the original booking appointment, and you click on that thing, and you can reschedule it for a sooner date. You didn't just monitor that. I'm doing as many consults as I can get out of the way for people, but there's a limit, okay? Because I'm not sleeping anymore, and it's been tough. There's so many crazy cases to deal with. But let me give you a link real quick. So I'm going to give you the appointment booking software link, and then I'm going to give you a link to my website. Now check it out there. It has reviews as well. For those of you who don't know, I'm ranked number 1 on YouTube, and I'm ranked number 1 for Section 8 consulting on Google. So if you're concerned with the validity of my services, I think that it speaks pretty loudly that I'm ranked number 1 on 2 of the biggest websites on the planet. And my reputation has never been damaged. But again, for transparency, I'll tell you, my success rate is 93%. If you hire me, you have to accept that responsibility that 7% of the time I absolutely fail to do my job professionally, okay? And it's not that I'm trying to fail, but you have to understand a lot of these cases are complex. If you have schizophrenia and you're unable to communicate and work with me, then the case can fail, If you have other issues going on that would prevent you from remaining sober or off of drugs, while I'm asking you to participate, that can make a case fail. So when you understand 7% failure, understand that there is some client responsibility. Some people, I've got suburban mothers that are middle class that contact me. I need help. And they hired me, and they essentially say, well, you let me know when you get the voucher, and they hang up on me, okay? Now, let me tell you something. I'll refund your money and just kick you out. I don't have time for prideful people. If you're too lazy to follow instructions, to read the manuals and let me help you through this, if you're too lazy to do the things I'm asking, then I won't fool with you. It's no problem. I always will give her your money back. In fact, I've had only one charge back in 20 years, and it happened 4 days ago. And I don't know if the client is delusional or doesn't understand what her appointment is, but she charged it back without saying anything to me. And actually, her appointment's on the 5th. So, that's as simple as that. When people want their money back, I just give it back. I'm not interested in keeping your money. I do other things for a living that make a hell of a lot more money than me sitting around doing consults for half the day, So I'm always, anytime you feel that your service hasn't been adequate, we'll just give you your money back. As simple as that. I mean, I can always recover my voice. It's not like I've sold you a new car and I can't get it back. So, Nina says, in Virginia, 4,500. That's to lose a voucher because Nina, you have an interesting way of talking. I'm trying to interpret here. In Virginia, 4,500. That's what you lose the voucher because they are handling things. So it appeared that you lost the voucher maybe because you're in debt for 4,500. The thing is, Nina, you want to focus on getting a place at this point. That's old. It's kind of old news. I'm sorry you lost your place, but your focus, there's nothing can be done about that. Yeah, you can file a complaint, but that's not going to move you in a new place to live. I mean, you really want to start, guys. A lot of you are hiring me for retribution. Literally, some of you guys sleeping in your car, and the only thing you want me to do is get a bunch of people fired at the housing authority, which I'm happy to accommodate. But I mean, we're spending so much energy on revenge right now. About 20 to 22% of my clients hire me for revenge. They absolutely want to see pay. I guess they look at it and view it as, if the ship's going to go down with the ban, then you're going to make sure the housing authority goes with you. I understand that. People are out for blood right now. Landlords are, tenants are. Look, trust me, people hire me all day long to do things to wreck housing authorities. And so as long as it's within the scope of federal law, I'll be happy to help you any way I can. But guys, you really need to focus on getting housing, not revenge. And not filing discriminatory reports. And I can tell you at the level we're reaching with housing, filing a bunch of complaints at HUD is probably going to take months now because they don't have enough employees to review every 9-page filing that I do against them. Those are OBOs, reports for discrimination and number other issues. So it doesn't make any sense to expend so much energy, money, and time just for revenge. Wait till you get into your new place, put the key in the doorknob, then call me and say, hey, I need some revenge. That's fine. We'll work on the case. We'll figure out what worker did it, and then we'll square them away. Maybe they'll be the one that's homeless come around Christmas. But for now, I need you guys to really focus on less on revenge and more about, trying to help you, your family, your elderly, you're sick, you're disabled. I try to prioritize cases with families with special needs children and people that have extreme disabilities. I try to focus on our veterans and our seniors, even students. So I see everybody through the same set of eyes. I don't play God with anybody's case. So you're all even, in my opinion. Jalen Fox, do you look over HUD forms for the programs? Absolutely, I do. Yes. Why, Ms. Fox? What was your question about that? I look over applications. So when people fill out HUD or fill out housing authority applications, if that's what you're suggesting, then yeah, sometimes I check for errors in the ways in which they're answering. As far as HUD's forms concerned, there's a lot of documentation that can be provided that we can be discussing. But yes, if there needs to be changes, a lot of people, when they fill out paperwork to housing authorities, they give absolutely terrible answers. In other words, they don't really have any fair chance to get housing because they don't understand the things at play when they check certain boxes and give certain answers. There are rules behind everything. If you're not apprised of those rules, then it can mean the difference between months, years, and decades. I had one lady, she's highly educated. She decided she wanted to do it her way. She filled out that application, and with all the honesty and truth as a good Christian woman. Problem was, honesty didn't get her anywhere. Where it got her was at the end of the back of a list for 9 years. When I finally got to it, it was simply because she answered in principle the wrong way to a whole lot of questions. She was shamed out. She was too ashamed that she had a disability, didn't want to talk about domestic violence issues. And so all the things that would have made her fly to the top, threw her right to the bottom. So you see, there's lots of clever ways that applications are designed to cheat you mentally out of getting you, even duping you into believing that question is not applicable. If you don't believe that's real, why are there so many people waiting 15 years for a housing choice voucher? Moving on, Ms. Fox says, most home ownership or how to get into mixed use type housing, Atlanta mostly. Ms. Fox, you would want to talk to a HUD specialist, okay? I'm not trying to I'm not trying to kick you over the next person, but it requires me to both be a real estate agent, broker, and then it takes a specialty license to talk about that stuff. Now I realize a lot of people on YouTube talk illegally about giving people advice about houses. I won't do that. I can only tell you from my own experience purchasing. There are a lot of things available, including 25,000 down USDA loans, 0 interest, 0 down. If you've got a fair or reasonable credit history of around 530, that is a walk-in credit score. You need some kind of income. It doesn't mean you necessarily need to be working. If you do have an active income and you're looking for a reasonable house, a lot of you guys believe you can use your voucher to purchase a home. You're incorrect. That 30%. So when the housing authority, when you owe 30% of your income, that 30% goes to who? The HUD and landlord, right? Well, instead of paying them with that 30%, you would pay that against your mortgage, okay? That's what those home ownership programs really are. And so they're not in every city. They rolled out in every city back in 2000. They shut down most of it. Then they readdressed it back in 16. The states that are most likely to have home ownership or HUD homes now are going to be a little bit the poorer states and also the poorer or communities that are more distressed, okay? And there's a reason for that. So I would tell you that if there is a home ownership program, it will be loudly and very clearly put on the front page of your housing authority. It will say, we have a housing program, but you really need a real estate agent or a broker, or you can talk to a HUD specialist about that because I'm simply not licensed to do so. I'm speaking of how to complete the forms or even vouchers, credit. Okay, well, that's where you, Ms. Fox, that's where you would want to consult. That would take about 20 minutes, and unfortunately, I'm not going to spend that kind of time doing that here in the video because it's not about, this video is not about filling out applications. There's a part where we get into actually that's consulting, and that's exactly what you're asking for. So no, I don't really have the time to do that, go into that, and there's a whole lot to that. First of all, I don't know what state you're in. I don't know which county, and I also don't know any of your case details. So it would make it an impossibility for me to give you any advice about how to fill out an application. I can only tell you that an application needs to be filled out. So, all right, guys, I've enjoyed talking with y'all. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. It's been 42 minutes, and I swore I was not going to go past 30. So I hope y'all enjoy your weekend, and then we'll touch base again Sunday and see how this eviction process is going to play out, what the country is going to do, and whether or not we're going to have an angry mob in every capital in the country. All right, y'all have a good night. Bye-bye.